The Ryan and Ryan Power Hour podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to Ryan and Ryan here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
All right, let's do some NBA talk right now. As the current standings, as it goes right now, Chicago stands at the third seed. They're 44-29. They play Saturday night against the Knicks, who have the worst record in the NBA by 2 games, and they also.
I'd sure hope the Bulls can win that game.
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of time earlier in the season, especially, they would lose something like this, like they did to Boston, and who else did they lose to?
The Jazz and
Sacramento,
the Lakers.
I think they lost to.
Yeah, they lost the Lakers.
They lost to the Lakers in overtime in L.A. Yeah, that was not good.
They barely beat the 76ers in overtime.
Right. That was the game where Aaron Brooks went off, had a crazy fadeaway 3 towards the end of regulation. Yeah, it's very upsetting that they've lost games like that, but they should be able to beat the Knicks.
Yeah, the funny thing is with
staying pat at the third seed.
I mean, the funny thing is with the Western Conferences, you'll see the teams that are at the bottom of each conference's standings, except the Western Conference teams that aren't in the playoffs would easily make the playoffs in the East. They're not like the Knicks and the 76ers where there's no hope.
Yeah, right now, Phoenix is 3 games out of a playoff spot. Oklahoma City has the 8th seed. Phoenix is 3 games out. And
how far out of the Pelicans?
The Pelicans are a game and a half behind Phoenix. And then after that, it's going to be one of those 2 teams. Utah doesn't have a chance. They're 31-40.
Pelicans have been losing some close games that they needed to win. They're falling out.
You know what's funny? The 8th seed right now in the East is the Boston Celtics. They're 31-40. So Utah would make the playoffs right now if they were in the Eastern Conference.
Probably cruise into the playoffs.
Well, they'd be tied with Boston for the 8th seed. So and New Orleans is 37-34. If let's see, that's 1 game better than Milwaukee as far as the wins, so they would be in the 5th or 6th seed in the East. New Orleans would. That's very sad.
You know, I hope that the NBA doesn't look at this and think that they should just do the top 16 teams make it, because I mean that's just not how it should be. I mean,
let's see if
I'm pretty sure there's been times where a lot of teams in the West were really bad. I mean, the Lakers were number 1 a lot of those years, and then a lot of the East teams are really, like back in the 90s. I mean, look at all the good teams in the East with all the great players that never won a title because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, you look at Karl Malone and John Stockton.
Charles
those
Barkley,
2 should have won a couple championships.
Patrick Ewing.
Yep. Definitely Patrick Ewing, for sure.
Olajuwon probably wouldn't have won any if Jordan didn't retire.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, because it probably would have been Chicago against Houston and those 2
Yeah,
finals.
it would have been Chicago and Houston. You know Olajuwon wouldn't have any rings.
Yeah, the Bulls would have won,
8 in a row.
That's ridiculous to think about. And if Scottie Pippen, if he didn't have a migraine in the 1990 Eastern Conference Finals, the Bulls probably would have beaten the Pistons that year and could have been 9 in a row. And if they would have stayed together for 1 more year in '99, they probably would have won then too against a young Spurs team. So, they could have literally won the whole '90s decade.
Yeah, they could have, and that is realistic to think that it could have happened. I'm sure. And the funny thing is that when that Bulls dynasty ended, a Spurs dynasty started the very next year.
Yeah, the NBA since the 1980s has been a league of dynasties. You have the Lakers dynasty, the Celtics dynasty, the 2 little Detroit titles in '88 and '89, or in '89 and '90, and then the Bulls dynasty started throughout the whole '90s.
Don't forget, then the Spurs.
Houston had their 2 back-to-back wins, just like Detroit did earlier, and then the Spurs dynasty started. The Lakers had their back-to-back wins in '09 and 2010. And now,
don't forget Miami's dynasty that lasted 4 years because they went and tried to sign all the good free agents.
Yeah, and then you have them, and then now hopefully not, but now the Cleveland dynasty starting in the East.
It doesn't sound like it to me because it's
not going to be like it was in Miami. I know that.
Well, the problem is they can't keep Love. All those guys they traded for at the deadline, they no longer have enough salary cap to keep Love, and LeBron was publicly complaining that Love's not acting like a team player now.
I heard that. I wonder if Love. I feel like Kevin Love would like to be on a team that's not competitive, and I know that that's hard to say, but I feel like he wants to be the face of the franchise, and he's never going to be that in Cleveland. I feel like he wants a lot of money and his advertising deals and all that, and I feel like he had that in Minnesota. He wasn't happy in Minnesota because he knew he wasn't going to win. But I feel like if he doesn't win with Cleveland, he's going to be even more upset.
I think if you take out LeBron, if it was Love and Irving, they would be able to make it work. It's just there's too many guys where Love now, if you look at his shots, almost every shot he takes is a three.
Right, yeah. There's no inside game anymore, partly because they have some good guys inside, like Mozgov and whoever.
And he knows that, there's really no way for him to, stack up the scoring, jack up his scoring numbers, unless he's shooting threes all game.
Right.
And I don't think this... And the thing is, I don't think LeBron's going to be there after his second contract expires. He might want... if this team is bad, he might just want to leave.
I feel like he's going to stay with the Cavaliers. And
I don't think he'll win a title if he stays with them.
Well, he could win a title this year.
I don't see it happening.
They're probably going to go to the finals, right? Unless the Bulls can do something magical, I think. I don't think Atlanta's going to make it to the finals. I think the Cavaliers would beat them in a 7-game series.
That's the one thing about the East. Realistically, the Bulls and the Cavs are the only teams that really are good enough to make it to the finals.
And it's when the Bulls are at full strength that they can compete with the Cavs. Otherwise, if you don't have Rose, or God forbid, if Taj Gibson gets hurt again, or Jimmy Butler, there's.
Also throwing the fact that if Cleveland doesn't make it, it's most likely going to be because of the coaching.
Yeah, I think that'll be a big part of it. He's a first-year NBA coach, and
he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I think he coached overseas. He coached, I forget what team.
Oh, gee, that reminds me of the Bears hiring Mark Trestman from a league in a different country.
Right, CFL, yeah, that doesn't quite resonate with the NFL. If you're looking at the Eastern Conference standings right now, Atlanta has locked up that Southeast Division title. I think they're in the Southeast or something. I don't know. Cleveland has clinched a playoff spot. Chicago has clinched a playoff spot. Toronto clinched a playoff spot. So that's so I think if Washington wins a few more games, they'll clinch. Milwaukee a few games after that, and then it's a really tight race for 7th and 8th. Miami has the 7th seed right now, 2 games in front of Boston for the 8th. I can't believe Boston and Brad Stevens, the old coach of the Butler Bulldogs, he's really put the Celtics together.
Brad Stevens is a good coach.
Yeah, he is.
Granted, he's literally learning on the job. I thought he was a tremendous coach with Butler. He ran a really good defense.
Oh, he went to 2 straight Final Fours.
Yeah, he in 2 straight championship games.
And
it's it wasn't his fault that in the second one that no one on that team remembered how to shoot. Matt Howard went 1 for 13 shooting in that second championship game, and he was supposed to be one of the big guys to help him win.
Right.
He's a good coach. He runs a fantastic defense.
Yeah, and Indiana is only a half game behind Boston for the 8th seed, but it's surprising. Everyone thought the Celtics would be one of the worst teams this year. It turns out they could be in the playoffs. They're very much alive, and Brad Stevens has done just enough to get this team to the playoffs.
Once they traded Rondo, they started winning more games. They traded for Isaiah Thomas.
They have no stars. That's the thing. Every other team, besides Milwaukee, really, but every other team has sort of a star.
A go-to player.
Yeah, a go-to player. The Bulls have a couple. The Cavs certainly have a couple. Atlanta's got a couple with
Teague and Millsap.
Toronto's got Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. So, and Washington has the duo of
Beal and Wall,
of John Wall and Bradley Beal. So it's pretty impressive that the Celtics, without any true star, have been able to go through the playoffs with their
and the fact that they traded probably their two best players in Jeff Green and Rajon Rondo.
Right, and then not too far behind Indiana. Only
they do have Avery Bradley though, and he's had a nice season. Not like a star kind of season.
There's actually a three-way tie for 8th, 9th, and 10th right now in the East. Indiana, Brooklyn, and Charlotte are all tied as far as games back of the 8th seed. If I had my choosing, I would, and Miami has a 2-game lead over Boston. I would love Miami to be out of the playoffs. I think that would be great. I'm not a big Dwayne Wade fan anyway.
I like Luol Deng, though. I kind of want.
Yeah, sure. I like Deng, but I would love to, not Indiana, but I would love to see somebody like Charlotte go up to that 8th.
Where's
or 7th
Miami
seed.
Placed?
7th right now, and they're 3.5 games back of Milwaukee. So pretty confident Milwaukee will end up with that 6th seed, and then. I would love like Charlotte and Boston to make the playoffs. Either that or Charlotte, not Indiana. I would like Charlotte to replace Miami, and then I'm pretty much set with the East.
Yeah, I don't know about Charlotte because I mean their coach came out and said Al Horford will not be 100% for the rest of the season.
Right. It would be a kind of a cool thing for Michael Jordan and everything, but they have. I mean, they're 10 games under 500. It's not like they've had a good season, but it's been improved. Charlotte made the playoffs
last year.
Yeah, but before that, they gave somebody trouble. I'm trying to think if that was 2009 or 2010. They were like an 8th or 7th seed,
and they got swept.
They got swept, but they had really close games. I can't remember who it was against. I think
Cleveland.
It was it was either against the Cavaliers or Boston. It was one of those two teams. It was whoever.
It
was
was
good
Cleveland because I think the Bulls played Boston in the first round that year.
Oh, okay. So that was the year that the Bulls lost in 7 games to the Celtics.
I believe it was because that was the year before Tom Thibodeau.
Right. Yes, I think.
Oh no! That was no.
It was 2 years before Tom Thibodeau.
That was 2 years. Then, actually, no. Charlotte might. No, there's no. Okay,
Charlotte was either there in 09 or 10.
It had to have been that year because the next year the Bulls were the 8th seed playing the Cavs in the first round, and they were fighting with Toronto for that 8th seed. And there's no way that Charlotte had a better record than the Bulls that year.
Although it wouldn't surprise me, but So
the thing is, that would have been because the Bulls are 41-41 that year. There's no way that they had a winning record.
They were 41-41 for 2 straight seasons under Vinny Del Negro. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about the Western Conference after this break here on Ryan and Ryan, and we will talk to you, about the strong Western Conference. The Los Angeles team, not the Lakers, of course, but the Clippers have a 5-game winning streak, a quiet 5-game winning streak as they're creeping up to that 4th seed against the to pass up the Trailblazers. So stick around to Ryan and Ryan, SportsTownChicago.com. The Ryan and Ryan Power Hour Podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.